Good morning. This is Crystal Woods with Seasons of the Vine, and it's Fresh Friday. And this message today has been quite the challenge to get out. I have been trying to prep the false gospel message from my notes, but every time I went to film it, it just wasn't working out and it didn't feel touched by the Lord. So I was having some difficulty and had to go to take my daughter to the orthodontist. And while I was driving down the road, all of these other things that I've been processing this week, just different downloads, still revolving around deception or just things that are not of God that are happening. And there was another message. So I can't go to the false gospel. So not yet, maybe next week. I probably shouldn't even preemptively say it. We'll just see what the Lord does. But he just was like, whoop, that's not for today. I want you to keep hitting this topic. But this time it is what breaks deception? Obedience. Obedience to what God has told you to do breaks the enemy's hold on you. It breaks human hold on you. So whether the attack is human in nature or whether it is demonic in nature, enemy in nature, it doesn't matter. When you obey, there's something that breaks that deception, whether it's just a faulty human or just straight up demonic activity. Obedience to God breaks that deception. So in James, there's this whole discourse in chapter 4, just warning against worldliness, all kinds of different things that shouldn't be part of the church. You shouldn't be proud. God gives grace to the humble. And then we get to verse 7 and we see this principle in the Bible, and it says, submit yourselves therefore to God. Submit yourselves to God, not the things of the world, not the way you think you should do it, not your pride, not the enemy, not any other things. It even talks about wisdom up in chapter 3. Earthly wisdom is unspiritual and demonic. So he's like, all of this, don't do any of this. What I would rather you do is submit yourselves therefore to God. Submit yourself. What do you think that means? Well, it means to be under the subjugation of God. And so if he's told you to do something, or he's warned you about something, or you've watched these messages and you're like, you know what, there's an area of my life I'm not submitted to the Lord, or there's an area in my life where I am under deception, obey the Lord. Submit to God. Whatever he has said to do about it, whatever way he wants you to act, resist the devil. That means I'm going to stand firm against him. I'm not going to be deceived anymore. I'm not going to give him a foothold. I'm not going to give him playground. He's not going to have any access to me because of sin or pride or anything else that's going on. Fear. You know, I just heard recently, like, fear is one of the most unaddressed sins in the world right now, in the Christian culture right now. It's like nobody's talking about how fear is a sin. Do not fear. Therefore, if you do, it is wrong. But we'll talk about that another day. Anyway, it's kind of a big deal. Like, we live a very substandard life. We talk about one kind of gospel, but we live a different one. And that's what we have to see really change. Anyway, verse 7, that's for another day. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Obey God. Resist the devil. Tell him no. Shut down the places he gained access. Get your identity shored up. All those things. Don't be flattered. Don't let distractions have their way. Resist all of those ways of deception. Resist him. Resist the sin, and he will flee from you. He will flee from you. So this is what the Lord wanted me to talk to you about today. So there's a couple of examples here. Obedience breaks the deception. So you have to obey the Lord. So we just saw that in James. Last week at the very end, I got this like drop into my mind as I was recording, like the lion's den. Maybe God didn't send you into the lion's den. Like, maybe you're thinking you're in the lion's den, but you weren't supposed to be, because a long time ago you were supposed to make a different decision. Like, we have to stop blaming God for the things that we decide to do, especially when maybe there was a warning or a concern. I know I've done that in my life. Like, when I was in deception and I was sinning against God and man, and like the deception was going on and on and on. Do you know, people came to me and they were like, hey, I don't know that you're okay. Hey, I'm not sure about this. And I just shut it down. Like, I didn't submit to God. I wasn't resisting the devil. He wasn't fleeing. I wasn't obeying. And so that deception was allowed to persist over and over and over again. And so that's something that we can't blame God for. Like, those are things that we do. Those are decisions that we make. So maybe we're in the lion's den and God didn't even call us to be there because he told us to get out a long time ago. And so it was like, wow, I'm under attack. Wow, I'm this. Wow, I'm that. And it's like, yeah, but I'm choosing to be here. This isn't what God designed for me. So look at this. Look at where obedience really does amazing stuff. I mean, it's all through the Bible. Totally, obviously, and the most profound in Jesus saying, you know, Father, not my will, but your will. But let's look at Matthew 2, because immediately as I was driving down the road and I'm getting this new message, the Lord brings this to mind. And he's reminding me of 2 warnings. First, we're in Matthew 2. So this is the visit of the wise men. I'm going to pick up and with verse 7. Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word that I may come and worship him. Not all pursuit is pure. He doesn't want to worship Jesus. He wants to kill Jesus. This is why you need to test the spirits. This is why you need Holy Spirit to say, that's not a good motive. Don't participate in that. Don't do that meeting. Don't have that conversation. Don't entertain that sin. Don't do it. So let's pick this up. I get excited, then I lose my place. After listening to the king, verse 9, they went on their way, and behold, the star they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. Verse 10, when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother. They fell down and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gift, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Verse 12, and being warned in a dream. Dreams are warnings. Dreams are warnings. They're different than visions. I don't want to get into visions, but dreams have a very, they can be very warning. They can also just explain what's going on, what's to come. They can be very prophetic. But what we see here is being warned in a dream. They were told not to return to Herod. They departed to their own country by another way. That's obedience. What would have happened? How would the enemy have gained a foothold? Human enemy. Not necessarily even saying that's the devil. Right? It's not always the devil. Sometimes it's humans with bad motives, like Herod, right? So they're being warned in a dream. They had a dream, they believed God, and they obeyed. Dreams are really important to me. When I have a spiritual dream, I really keep track of it. I ask the Lord, like, what does this mean? What do you want me to do with it? What are you saying? And some of them have been, like, we immediately went into action. Very specifically, years ago, I shared a Fresh Friday about my son, Jack, being injured in a dream and like half his face being taken off. And my daughter Shelby was the one that had the dream. We had high levels of craziness going on at the time. And she woke me up in the middle of the night, told me about it. We felt it was a warning. We prayed over Jack. I talked with him about it. It was the helmet of salvation that he didn't have on because he said, Mom, that's not going to happen to me. I always wear my helmet when I ride my dirt bike. And then when he said helmet, the Lord said, helmet of salvation, his mind. And that's where we saw the enemy was going to attack him. And what was going to happen was like half his face was going to be, like, it was a warning. It was intense. So they were warned and they obeyed. Obedience gets you out of deception. If you're not obeying, you're already deceived. If you've stopped listening to what God said, you're already deceived by your own will, by your own choice. We don't even have to blame the devil. We can just be like, hey, that was me. Or that was this person, right? That's human decision. Not everything is God's fault. Not everything that happens to you is his plan, because people get to decide things. They get to decide things. And we know that there's many things in history that have gone on that are definitely not God's heart for people, 100%. But it is a product, unfortunately, of living among a sinful, fallen people in a fallen world. Okay, now let's look at the next dream, verse 13, because the Lord brought both to mind. Now, when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, rise. Isn't this amazing? The angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph. Rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt and remain there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him. What does he do? Does he ignore it? Does he debate it? Does he go like, well, I don't know if I believe that. I'm not sure. No, because he's from the Bible. Do you know how spiritual these people lived? Do you understand the spiritual realm to them was just normal? We've lost track that Christianity is actually a spiritual religion. We talk about like being indwelled literally by the Spirit of God. That's cray-cray. So there is another world around us. Are we aware? Are we aware that dreams are in the Bible, New and Old Testament, as a way that God speaks to us? And in this one, he's saying, you need to flee to Egypt because danger is coming. And he rose and took the child. He obeyed. He obeyed. Submit to God. Resist the devil. He will flee. And he rose, took the child and his mother by night, and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. That was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet, out of Egypt I called my son. Isn't that amazing? A warning. And God is fulfilling a prophecy through a person who's obeying the dream. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so really cool. Let's jump down to 19. But when Herod died, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream, another one, to Joseph in Egypt, saying, rise, take the child and his mother to go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the child's life are dead. And what did he do? He obeyed. He submitted to God. Look at that. Obedience breaks deception. So if any of these messages have been hitting at you, and you know there are relationships that need to be changed, that there are locations in your life that you don't need to go to anymore, whatever it is, whatever God has been speaking, you need to obey, and that breaks deception. Okay. Let me see if I've missed anything. We don't want to be in the lion's den of our own accord. It doesn't mean God won't protect us, but like, come on, guys. And I say that to myself, like some things can be avoided if we just walked in wisdom, and then we obeyed the wisdom that God gives us. Okay. Obedience, huge. Okay, let's think about this. I'm just going to add the story of Jonah in there. It's in my notes because this was part of the download, and you take what you want from it, okay? This was God's plan coming about because Jonah didn't listen the first time. So there are consequences to when we don't listen. There just are. Now, we live on this side of Jesus being on the cross and raising from the dead. So like we are so blessed to not always have to go through all the consequences of our decisions. But let's just take a look at Jonah. This came up at church this past week in a little prayer meeting we were having. And Jonah is told to go to Nineveh. And he doesn't want to. So he does something different. Now, what was God's plan? And what was God's will? That Jonah listened. But he didn't. And then he got swallowed by a big fish. So the reality is God's will come to pass in that situation. Are you going to be part of it? Are you going to have to be swallowed by a fish to obey? Are you going to have to be drugged to the end? I mean, that's a word for me, because sometimes some of these battles I'm just like, peace. But the Lord says, stay. And then it's like, wow, what am I going to look like when I stay? Bitter and angry? That's kind of where I'm at today, just to be honest. And the Lord has said that to me. Like, it's all going to come to pass, Crystal. All the dreams, all the visions, all the words. What are you going to look like when you get there? Like, are you resting on my word? So anywho, back to Jonah. Take what you want from that. Back to Jonah. So God is going to send him, but the way he has to get there is rough. So the idea is, why do we want to subject ourselves to the hard way when we can just obey? And obedience itself is hard enough. May have other consequences, which are great because the provision of God is in the will of God. Like the plans of God are a good thing to see him glorified, right? And to see us taking our role in bringing his kingdom to earth. Like those are good things. So if you're going to have a hard time and suffer in obedience to Christ, make sure it's obeying him and in not disobedience to Christ, because there's suffering on either side. One is the finer way. So Jonah decides not to obey God. It still gets accomplished. He just got to do, some time in a whale, or not a whale. That's not true. Actually, we don't know what it is. It's a big fish. I'm thinking of VeggieTales. My kids just had a debate about this the other day. Anyway, a big fish. So is there an area that you need to obey the Lord in today? That's the question. Is there something going on where the Lord is telling you to do something specific and you're not doing it? If you disobey the Lord, you're immediately open to deception. You're immediately open to human deception and spiritual deception, because what have you just given the enemy? A foothold. And what have you just given someone who has impure motives? You've given them access. So keep that in mind. This is what the Lord wanted me to deliver today. This is look at all these notes, guys. Look where we were going to go today. All these notes. But the Lord said, that message is not anointed for today. And I felt it. I just felt it. This one, I feel the presence of God. There's the energy and the power of God. Praise the Lord. So we didn't get to any of this, but another day we will. And today was obedience breaks deception. And that does make sense. I mean, the Lord has the best plans. Doesn't that make sense that we needed to talk about like how to get out of deception? One of the big ways is get out of where you're being deceived, stay away from people that are being deceived, and obey the Lord. Obey the Lord. Don't give the devil a foothold. Much love. I'll see you next week. I don't know what we're talking about. We'll see.